Wie gesagt, Repression und Enttäuschung, Menschenrechte, Meinungsdiktat und politische Folgen ist die Überschrift. Ich stelle kurz das Podium vor. Ganz links außen von Ihnen gesehen, Stavit Sinai, Jahrgang 1985, Tochter einer Familie, die den Holocaust überlebt hat. Sie hat Philosophie studiert, unterrichtet dann in Berlin oder auch in Konstanz, in Berlin, ist Mitglied des Selma-Stern-Zentrums für jüdische Studien und ist neben ihrer wissenschaftlich-philosophischen Karriere, ihrer akademischen Karriere, Anti-Apartheid-Aktivistin. Berühmt ist ein Bild von ihr, wo sie ein Plakat mit dem Schriftzug Resist Israel Apartheid hochhält. Das war 2017 aus Protest gegen die israelische Politik. 2017, also lange bevor diesem genozidalen Angriff der Israelis, den wir heute besprechen, vor der Berliner Humboldt-Universität und ist dann 2 Jahre später dafür wegen Antisemitismus angeklagt worden und auch, weil sie die BDS-Bewegung unterstützt. In England schloss sie sich dem Kampf gegen Elbit an, dem drittgrößten israelischen Waffenproduzenten, der nicht nur Elektronik- und Luftfahrtindustrie, sondern auch die Drohnen, die wir gesehen haben, produziert. Schön, dass du zu uns gefunden hast. Wunderbar. Könnt schon Platz.
Hi, I'm Stavit. I was born in apartheid Israel. And I'm a philosophy teacher living in Berlin. I came back to Berlin, and I'm an anarchist. I'm an Israeli anarchist seeking revolutionary change. I'm seeking to overturn the relations of power between occupier and those who are occupied. So this is my political aspiration, seeking revolutionary change. Just to tell you a bit about my background, I don't want to get too much into identity politics because I see that as a tool of oppression in itself. But just to give you some context, I was born in Haifa. I was born to a Zionist family. Was born in Haifa as well, but perhaps not the same Haifa because Haifa is segregated, it's a segregated city. Was born to a Zionist family, a Holocaust surviving family. Both of my parents served in the military. And I received the best Zionist education of the time, the best my parents could afford. And just by privilege, just by luck, I was able to escape Zionist indoctrination altogether. Because most Israelis coming from a Jewish background as myself, are sent to serve in the military. And I was indeed recruited to the military, but it was not because I was ideologically driven that I dodged the military. I dodged the military because I was too spoiled to serve in the military. So basically after 2 weeks, I've escaped. Now, a person with my kind of educational path was supposed to end up as a diplomat or something of that sort, something military. So I was supposed to be an officer or a high-ranking political, public servant. That was what I was assigned to do from birth. So I was supposed to be an officer or at least marry an officer. But instead, what I got is this. Do any of you know what that is? You know what that is? So this goes on your leg. I know one person who knows what it is. Yeah, my comrade Ronnie Barkan, my co-defendant. So this goes on your leg. And this is what you get when you get released from prison, basically. So you get released from prison and there's a private company that comes to tag you. And if you miss curfew, if you miss a specific hour, coming back home, police comes and arrest you. So how do you get one of these and what is the background preceding this very oppressive practice? And now maybe it's time to show the video and how that came about. Please go right ahead. perhaps with sound? There's perhaps with sound as well? Thank you so much. So what we've seen here is an action that Ronnie and I and 9 other comrades have taken in 2022 on Nakba Day, 15th of May, 2022. It was a Palestine action, direct action. Palestine Action is a direct action network seeking to shut Elbit down. Perhaps some of you have heard of Elbit Systems, based in Haifa, where I was born, where my father also used to work. Elbit System is Israel's #1 arms manufacturer. It produces drones, ammunition, and other lethal weapons experimented on Palestinian bodies on Gaza. And not only that it experiments with Palestinian bodies, it also works in tandem with the IDF. Namely, if the IDF has some kind of technical, logistical, or some other warfare problem that it has to solve, Elbit System would provide the solution on the ground. Elbit System is a close to $10 billion industry. Almost, it's not the exact figure, but it's as close to $10 billion. That's its like net worth. Okay, so After we basically came to Elbit system, and that's the Bristol headquarters, we smashed it down. We were aiming at getting the drones that were that we assumed to be located in the facility. We basically smashed and destroyed everything we could, and then we got arrested, and we were sent to prison for 1 month. After which we luckily today it's more problematic. We luckily got bailed out, and then we got the tag. But now we must ask ourselves, why target, why to pay this price, and why to subject ourselves to such oppression, and why is it important to target the arms industry? Well, in order to do so, we have to understand where apartheid Israel is situated historically. So Zionism is a European colonial movement. Indeed, it starts here in Vienna. And this is why this Congress is so important, because it is, in fact, some kind of perhaps historical redemption to have such a Congress here. So Zionism is a European movement. It starts within Central Europe. And it actually appropriates, it appropriated models of colonialism that the Germans, for example, have used in 19th century Germany has used, German Empire has used in the Poznan region, basically sending farmers and agricultural workers to colonize the Poznan region in Poland, basically setting up agricultural units and thereafter claiming that those areas as ethnically German. So if that rings a bell, that's the exact same method that Zionism used, and it learned it in the end of the 19th century. So once we understand Zionism as a European colonial movement, so once we understand that, we also have to see that it emerges at the exact same time when decolonization starts. It begins exactly when people all across the semi-colonial world refuse to be governed by a foreign regime, refuse to be governed by the white man. And it is exactly that we must understand Israel as swimming against the tides of history, going against the human spirit of the time. And this is what also explains why Israel must rest and rely on coercive power, why it must use force and military power in order to establish its dominance, and why it has to meet with each and every generation new forms of resistance, oppressing those only to meet new forms of resistance. And that is an ever-ending cycle. So once we understand Israel as a power that rests only on coercion and only on force, only on military power, we can also see that matter and material power can be dismantled. Because it is so powerful, because it is connected to the very heart of the West, because it relies on the inherent European racism from which it emerged, this is where we must hit. This is the exact point. This is the weakest link that we can help to dismantle. So, as you can see in those photos, this kind of damage. Now, I remind you, this is a $10 billion industry. In order to crush it, we had to use $10 alone of material. You see? So this is how we overturn the relations of power and take our weakness, and we have to admit, we have some disadvantages in terms of numbers, in terms of we are not an imperial power, right? We are individuals. But because we have that weakness, we can use it in order to overturn the relations of power. And some of you may say, well, I'm having some difficulties, I have some commitments, some jobs, the jobs or a family to maintain. I cannot take a sledgehammer and go on a factory. That's perfectly fine because everybody is in position to put an end to the system. Everybody are in position to put an end in the system and to be a part of the struggle. And now, when we think of resistance and the kind of oppression we meet and to which we have to subjugate ourselves to, I think of another context in which people have resisted in a much more risky and dangerous conditions, such as the one that the White Rose underground had endured. So maybe we can see that photo, the other photo, where there is like the White Rose quotation. Yeah, exactly. So White Rose, perhaps some of you, most of you know who they were, and they were an underground anti-Nazi resistance movement that took the highest risk in just distributing pamphlets around Nazi Germany in the time of the Holocaust. Their leading members, Hans and Sophie Scholl, the Scholl brothers, have been sentenced to death, and were executed on the same day by a guillotine. And this is what they write. And keep in mind, they had to pay a really high price to be able to say what they were saying. And what they say sabotage in armament plants and war industries, sabotage all gatherings, rallies, public ceremonies, etc. Sabotage all areas of science and scholarship. Sabotage in all cultural institutions, etc. So we take inspiration from those words, and we understand that if they were able to take those risks in the most severe and threatening conditions, we are too in a position to offer resistance and meaningful resistance, knowing that just as nobody came for my family, we're there in a concentration camp, nobody came, nobody yielded to their plea, it is up for me to recall, or up for us to recall, or Israeli dissidents or anti-Zionist dissidents, it is up for us to recall that our hearts have not been so abused that we have forgotten our basic duty. And our basic duty is to put an end to the system of apartheid and colonization. Thank you. We have currently 16 political prisoners in the UK connecting to Palestine action, and the British state as well as the German state are cracking down on activists. I think that is been established, but we must not see it as a sign of disadvantage. It is, in fact, in my view, a sign that we are extremely effective and that we are able to show them a fight. What we are doing is impactful and meaningful enough for them to prosecute us. So what is perceived as our weakness at the moment, the kind of oppression that we suffer, is in fact a sign, a fruit of us being extremely effective. So I'm just going to end this by saying that we also have to keep in mind that every decolonial struggle in history was won. Every decolonial struggle was effective and successful. And the Palestinian struggle will be too successful. So, long live the resistance. Long live Gaza. Long live Palestine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stavid. I put the same question as I did it with Ahmad concerning your prosecution, your criminal case, and the case of the others. What was the reaction of the media? And is there a difference in reacting the media in Great Britain and Germany?
Yeah, well, the media is a tool is a tool in the service of the ruling elite, and we have nothing to expect from it. In terms of, I mean, the media in Germany was just like beyond pathetic, beyond desperate in the kind of way they went after us, accusing us coming from a Jewish background in anti-Semitism. That was just really beyond desperate. But it just goes to show indeed how effective we are. I think in the UK, the response was far more accepting, and were very much in, to some extent, they covered the case to some extent, and they were rather more in solidarity with us. But I think everywhere we went, including when I was in prison, I received so much solidarity from other prisoners once they knew that I was there because of I was accused, I was charged with criminal damage and burglary. And once they knew it was because I stormed an Israeli arms factory, they said, yeah, good for you, you know. And so the reception was very positive, I think, relatively positive in the UK, unlike Germany, where it was just like desperate. Yeah, thank you.
Danke, Stavid nochmal.